All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA playoff video. In this video, we're going to talk about three games from last night. We're going to talk about Knicks versus Hawks. We're going to talk about Raptors versus Cavs. We're going to talk about Timberwolves versus Nuggets in today's video. So if you like what I say, like this video. If you have your own opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. I did just record a mega WNBA video, so if my voice sounds a little strained, probably is. I apologize. Also, we're at the point in some of these series where I'm just gonna be saying what the heck is wrong with some of these teams, and there are gonna be a little some overreactions. I don't really want to talk about the games, like get into details. We will obviously because it provides context, but this first game even not Raptors, Atlanta Hawks versus New York Knicks. The Atlanta Hawks sneak this game away at home. The first game in Atlanta, 109 to the Knicks 108. And I have to ask myself, and everybody's asking themselves this: what the hell is wrong with the Knicks? I've been on this all year. I've been saying they don't look right. Something's weird. Something's off. There was a point. I think it was it right after, right before All Star break, where like they had that weird loss. It was right after, yeah, where they lost embarrassingly to somebody, and like the body language was awful, and there was that sound bite going around of Jalen Brunson like, we need to fix this. It's not the coaching staff. It's us. We need to fix this. And those questions rear its ugly head again for this Knicks team. And maybe you could say they're catching the Atlanta Hawks at the wrong time. The Atlanta Hawks ended the season really well. They dug themselves into the playoffs. Um, and it's all for nothing for the Knicks. Um, if they lose this series, this is a detrimental series loss. And even if they don't lose this series, this is not a championship team. The makeup of a championship team, the the fibers of a championship team aren't in this Knicks team. You might look at their lineups and be like, "Oh, these all these guys are really good." You know, two really good defenders, a really good offensive big, a really good offensive guard. They have a good bench, and I ranted about their team and how I really like their team and what the group of guys they have, just on paper. But something's off, man. Something's off. Carl Anthony Towns had his 11th game as a New York Knick in the playoffs with 20 points, 10 rebounds. OG had a really good game this game. Jalen Brunson, I haven't even looked at the box score. I just watched the game. 25 points, 11 for 23, 0 of 5 from 3. Not a great game by the numbers. By the splits, I should even say. Had okay numbers. You waste this game. This was a game you should have won. And I've said this a lot, especially last video when I talked about the playoffs. You wasted X player's game. Because in the playoffs, you have to rely on these role players to have big games. And you wasted an OG Anunoby 29-point performance. He might have 29 again in the playoffs. Or maybe you should have won this game and OG Anunoby's 29 points doesn't go unrewarded. And he hit some mega shots. He hit some really big shots, OG did. He started this game off hot. Atlanta started the game better. And as weird as it is to say, and then we're going to talk about another player who made a really big impact in a playoff game that was traded midseason. Weirdly enough, for the Atlanta Hawks, obviously CJ is the big story. Jalen Johnson, both really good output scoring wise, 24, 23 respectively. Made two threes each. Um, Jalen Johnson almost had a triple double, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. Jonathan Kuminga, man, 21 points, just awesome defensively. And as I'm talking about it right now, and as somebody who watched Jonathan Kuminga since he was drafted, he was a Warrior, and I watched him with the Warriors, and I watched him fall out of the rotation, then come back in, and then win a championship with the Warriors. And the last couple of years have been sort of really sour. I was watching him in this game, defensively and offensively, and he bought into this role that he has with the Hawks. And I kept asking myself, Jonathan, why couldn't you do this with the Warriors? You look so good right now. It looks so good. He was locking down and like pestering guys that were coming near him. Like when an action would happen, Jonathan would sort of like linger and like close off a passing lane or close off a diving lane. He had some really good help defense at the in the final seconds of this game. And I kept asking myself, Jonathan, why didn't you do this with the Warriors? This is exactly what they wanted you to do. It was a really good game for Jonathan. He played he played a really good game against one of the premier defenses in this league in the Knicks and one of the better offensive teams in the Knicks, just overall wise, just like the firepower they have individually. Carl can have a big game. Mikal Bridges can have a big game. Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby can have a good game. Three of those players did. Um, and the player that people are nailing to the stake in New York this morning, this afternoon, is Mikal Bridges. And I've said this a lot, and I've had some people tell me it's funny when I say it, but I'll say it anyway. Mikal Bridges had the stinkiest game of his life. He was so stinky. He was so bad. It was awful. He it was so awful to the point that I didn't even notice he was out there. I only noticed it when he started missing shots. And they did this a lot during the regular season as well, where Jalen didn't have it going. Towns maybe had foul trouble. He wasn't in foul trouble this game. Only 2 fouls. But the Hawks had figured out those guys, and they had really good defensive plans for them. Mikal Bridges was the one guy who maybe could have saved this game because he can get to the mid range, he can rise up, he has those really long arms, he can get the shot right over his defender. The Hawks have the same archetype as Mikal, defending Mikal. So Mikal's just not getting anything going. And he looked awful, he looked bad. It was a disaster class for Mikal Bridges. And people have been on his ass all year. And I've come on and I defended him. I was like, just you have to wait, you have to wait. He's an okay player. He might not be built for this moment, and he might not be built for this team. And let me give you the numbers for the rest of the guys here. OG Anunoby 29, Karl-Anthony Towns 21, Jalen Brunson 26, Jordan Clarkson 8, Miles McBride 15. He had a really good game as well. Really good fourth quarter. Hit some mega. I say mega a lot. Huge shots for the Hawks. Onyeka Agum Okongwu, pardon me, 9 points. Jalen Johnson, 24. CJ McCollum, 23. Hit multiple daggers in this game. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 14. Dyson Daniels, 8. Had 3 steals, 1 block. Crazy. Jonathan Kuminga, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. Those are the numbers. My thought that I wanted to get to about this Knicks team is when you lose this series, or down the road when you lose, what is next? What's next? Because this is not a team like, oh, we can do a Celtics where we take a year off and then we'll come back better because we've done it before. You've never done it before. You've tried to win it with so many different combinations and so many different iterations of this team, and there is no savior. There's only one though. There's only one. And it got me thinking after they lost this game. And I left this game with my mouth open. Like, I was just like, how the hell did the Hawks win this? And I started thinking about what was next for the Knicks. Because if this was one of those losses, if you're a fan, we're just like, this was terrible. We just need to go next season. When the Knicks lose this series, or inevitably the next one or the one after that, the only path forward is Giannis. And Giannis is a year older, more injuries on his body. And I fall back on the thought that the trade package for Giannis at midseason a couple months ago was basically Karl-Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, or OG Anunoby, and then like a couple role players to fill the cap space and everything, fill up the salary, right? I'm not sure the I'm not sure the Bucks are gonna give you Giannis for that anymore. Because Mikal Bridges is thinking it up. OG, do you really want to get rid of OG and have Giannis, Mikal, and Jalen Brunson as your core three? I don't think so. So they're in a really bad spot. The Knicks are. This is not good. And another thing I wanted to note here about this Knicks team is that even though the X's and O's might not be great, right? And maybe you don't need the X's and O's, right? You need to bring in somebody who could connect the locker room, because that was one of the things that apparently Tom Thibodeau wasn't doing. He wasn't connecting with the guys anymore. He wasn't, a great coach in the locker room. Maybe the X's and O's were better, but he wasn't great as a coach in the locker room. Mike Brown is the coach of this team now, and Mike Brown is a very liked guy and a very well respected guy, and a guy who is not known for his X's and O's. He's known for his personality, like management. And if Mike Brown, the guy who's known for that, can't fix your team, I don't know what you're gonna do. I don't know what you're gonna do. Because there's a long history of other players liking Mike Brown. De'Aaron Fox, when he was in Sacramento with Mike Brown, said, I do not want to play for this team if Mike Brown gets fired. And guess what? Neither of them are in Sacramento anymore. That's how liked Mike Brown was. Mike Brown is a very liked guy. And his X's and O's, his X's and O's have never been Phil Jackson, Pat Riley. But they needed somebody to come into the locker room and settle this locker room and settle all the doubt and everything and say, this is our year. There are so many obstacles that aren't in our way this year. And now you're here. You're there last night in Atlanta. You're still in Atlanta. Down 2-1. And you can make a comeback. This isn't the end of the world. But there's still some very obvious, dents in the armor, skin showing. It's not great for the Knicks. And if they make it to the conference finals, that would be an achievement unto itself now. Those championship hopes, I'm sorry, Knicks fans, they might not be happening anymore. They might not be happening anymore. I am so sorry. Again, your final score 109 Hawks, 108 Knicks. The second to last game here. Uh, this game was going on while that Hawks game was going on. So I had it in like the multi view. I didn't really have my eyes on this game. But from what I could tell from when I started watching this game about halftime, I have a few notes here. Um, oh, by the way, just to give you a sense of what I was watching when I was watching that Hawks Knicks game, I have CJ fall away shot. The game got away from the Hawks. Oh, I have wait, my bad. I have let's see the Knicks close this game. JB hits a huge shot. Carl almost has a stop. He almost has his defensive stop. Um, Jalen Johnson had a huge rebound. CJ had a fadeaway, and I said, let's see if the Hawks. This game got away from the Hawks, um, but they still won it. And then the last shot was just awful. Anyway, moving on. Cavs, Raptors. Raptors won this game 126 to the Cleveland Cavaliers 104. I joined halfway through this game, and the biggest thing I could get from this game, because the Raptors are already winning this game, they crushed the Cavs. The Raptors were hitting the biggest shots you've ever seen, just after time after time after time. This corner, that corner, top in the paint. It was crazy, um, and it just didn't stop. And the Cavs just couldn't match it. Donovan Mitchell, 15. James Harden, 18. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, okay enough games. Neither of them had a double double. They got killed on the boards. Um, the Raptors came out and got a really meaningful game at home, and they won this game with purpose. They just didn't win it by accident like the Hawks did. They put in some real effort to win this game, and they did. And shout out their coach. This is his first time coaching the playoffs, yeah. So congrats to him, his first playoff win, I believe. Um, Darko Rajakovic, I believe is his name, and he got his guys playing out there. Brandon Ingram, 12 points. RJ Barrett, 33. Scotty Barnes, 33. Jakob Poeltl, 8. Colin Murray Boyles, 22. Jamison Battle, 14. Just some really, really meaningful stuff for this Raptors team, because that first game did not, those first two games did not look particularly great. And now they lead this. Now the Cavs lead the series 2-1. The Raptors get their first win in this series, and that's all I have to say. I joined this game halfway through. It was over. It was one of those games where the Cavs just weren't awake. They closed their eyes and they got sucker punched essentially. Um, this next one though, this last one, um, this is one of those games where I'm like, what the hell is wrong? What the hell is going on? Um, the Nuggets versus Wolves. This was the game that Nikola Jokic had the worst field goal attempts and percentage of his career. Not just in the playoffs or in the regular season, of his career. Um, Nikola Jokic shot 7 of 26, 2 of 10 from 3. Awful. Still at 27 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists. Was not enough, though, and the Wolves just pounced on them. That wasn't even a joke to try to talk about the Wolves as predators, but they jumped on the Nuggets. Um, they did everything right. They made they made the Nuggets overthink it. And this team is so predicated on Jokic's mental fortitude and him reading the floor and understanding the defense. That did not happen at all this game. They were missing Aaron Gordon injury. I've said it time and time again. This team is a completely different team without Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon needs to play in order for them to be a championship contender. I know that sounds so weird, but you don't lose like this if Aaron Gordon's out there. Aaron Gordon at least has a little bit of an effect on this game. You had to start Spencer Jones. I don't love that. There was no Peyton Watson in this game either. Jonas Valanciunas didn't get on the floor, even though he probably should have. Um, when I joined this game, because the end of the Raptors Cavs game led into this game, and I missed like the first couple minutes of this game in the first quarter. And I said to myself, I turned around and said, "What the hell is going on? What's going on?" And you start to realize as you pick up on these things and you look at the stats on the you can pull up the stats on the TV now, which is crazy. You saw Bones Highland having a good game. You saw Ayo Dosunmu having a good game. You saw Jaden McDaniels having a great game. You have Rudy Gobert putting on a defensive player of the year performance. Um, that's why the Nuggets lost this. The Wolves came out like gangbusters and just decimated them. And I was watching the post game stuff for with the Nuggets, and I was watching their coach, and the coach said it plain and simple. He said, "We're making things too complicated. At this point, we need to dumb things down. We need to reduce our actions. We need to just get into quicker actions, get the ball off the floor, move faster in the half court, and do that stuff because this team is too readable right now. You can read it from a mile away, and this isn't the first time they've played each other. This rivalry goes back and forth a long time. So the Wolves are familiar. The new head coach is not familiar with this matchup. Coach Chris Finch is familiar with this matchup. So there are a lot of negatives working against the Nuggets, and the least of them being that Ant had a bad game for the Wolves. Ant had a bad game and the Wolves won in the playoffs. I'm gonna use a harsh word here. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. And I know Nikola Jokic had a bad game. I know you had a couple guys, but that's unacceptable. Like, if Ant has a bad game, you should be able to sag off of him and double whoever else is getting hot at that moment. And defensively, the Nuggets didn't have it. It was frustrating to watch at times. Um, what else? What other notes do I have here? I have it right here. Ant has a bad game, and the Wolves look like they will win. I think that was like third quarter. Um, Another player who played really good for the Wolves, Ayo Dosunmu, was in the post game interview, like on TV, when he was on the Bulls a couple months ago, losing games, and now he's in the playoffs, making a huge playoff impact. Congrats to Ayo, man. That was a really good game from Ayo. That I could hear it in my head. Wolves fans being like, "This is why we brought him here. This is why we brought him. This is why we wanted him." Because all they needed was a guy like Ayo, and he fits the role, and he does what he needs to do. And he had what did he have on the night? He started too, I think, right? No, he didn't start. I just with 25 points, 10 of 15 from field goal. Did not make a single three. Did not need it. Had 9 assists. Really good stuff for Ayo. Really love seeing that. When a guy gets traded from a bad situation to a good situation and they're in the playoffs immediately and they have a really great impact, that's a really feel good thing, you know? Um, I'm sorry if the audio dropped there. My mic died again. Again, I recorded a huge WNBA video, so sorry if the mic dropped. I was saying Ayo coming from a really bad situation to a really good situation makes me feel good. Um, any other notes I have here? Because I want to get this out to you guys. Um, I said the Ayo trade's looking really good. Ant fouls out, immediately goes back to the locker room. Nuggets worst game. Nuggets worst game by the numbers all year. Um, yeah, and no AG really hurt them. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. I'm gonna get out of here so my computer doesn't overheat and my mic doesn't die. Mic doesn't die again. More playoff stuff. Oh my god. More playoff stuff soon. And yeah, check out the end screen, playlist, video, subscribe, little icon. Click it. Subscribe with these. Keep up with the I realize you guys can still hear me maybe. Keep up with everything on this channel. Subscribe, like, and comment as well. Cheers.